We have now surpassed 3 million coronavirus cases here in the U.S. and more than 132,000 deaths, averaging about 51,000 new cases every day, triggering a dire situation in hospitals. He says Indiana will remain in stage 4.5 for another month. Well, the boss usually makes more than the rank and file, but $215,000, some folks say, that's too much. How many workers do you have here?
We've got over 430 workers.
That's a lot of folks, and you need even more than that. Social distancing, face masks, and no family, no friends allowed inside. This was the best case scenario under COVID-19. In a 37-page document, the leaders of Southwest Allen County schools outlined their plan to get back to class. And really, it's a lesson for everyone. For example, what happens if someone in the building comes down with COVID-19? Price tag on phase one, $20 million.
Correct.
How do you measure the return on investment in something like that?
So the next time you drive past these towers on US 24, think about all of the history and all of the stories they have yet to bring us.
And I'm Brien McElhatton. First tonight, the effects of the pandemic can be seen this week in a Whitley County court case. A babysitter is on trial there over the death of a little girl in her care. ABC 21's Jeff Newmeyer's live from Columbia City tonight with the details. 630 more Hoosiers have tested positive for COVID-19 since yesterday, bringing the statewide case count to 64,299. And another 8 lives have been lost attributed to the virus, bringing the statewide number of dead to 2,733. And there have been more than 4.3 million confirmed cases of COVID-19 in this country, and more than 149,000 Americans have died since it all began. And health officials are warning now that deaths could grow into the hundreds of thousands if Americans don't take seriously the guidance to wear a mask and keep that social distance. Karen Kaifa is in Washington with more. What do you say we check in with Matt Leach in the Weather Center? We were just talking about last night's beautiful conditions.
Yeah.
Today, not all that bad either, really.
No, not really. And I think humidity really makes all the difference. Last night was really...
It is the bottom of the hour. Let's check your top stories now. Governor Eric Holcomb is pausing Indiana's reopening once again. He's keeping the state at what he calls stage 4.5 until August 27th. But now to seeds that you can plant. And if you ask city kids these days where their food comes from, they'll probably tell you it all comes from the grocery store. Well, there's a spot out in 21 Country that knows better than that. They want to tell kids, and really everyone else, all about it. Eric Olson reports. Hey, that's okay. We will welcome it when we get so lucky.
That's right.
Okay, Matt. Thank you very much. Why don't we take a look at the traffic right now? WOWO's Brian Davis is standing by. Brian, anything we should keep our eyes out for tonight? All right, let's talk business news now. Spotify has introduced a new tool in its group session feature that lets the premium users stream simultaneously. The streaming service launched the initial beta version of the group session back in May. The company's updated the feature so that listeners can tune in to the same playlist or podcast at the same time, no matter where they are. On Wall Street today, the markets finished slightly up. The Dow Industrials closed out the day a little more than half a point up at 26,539. Well, talk about an out-of-this-world experience. Have a look at this. Virgin Galactic had a web event this week about the inside of its Spaceship Two. That project has been in development for more than a decade now. We've told you about it in steps all along the way.
250,000, really?
250 grand. Yeah.
I'll wait another 10 or 20 years when the price goes down.
Yeah, but 10 or 20 years. Yeah. Then we could do it.
Is that true?
Start saving now.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. All right. Thanks for being with us here at 5. The news continues at 6 o'clock. We hope to see you then. Well, Bethlehem Woods is just one of many nursing homes hit with COVID-19. But the only reason we know that is because we dug deeper. You see, transparency inside these homes has been a big problem, particularly here in Indiana. We've already shared with you some stories from angry family members who feel that they've been left in the dark. But now we're understanding how many Bethlehem Woods residents have died from the virus, and getting that information wasn't easy. It's a wet, blustery day outside St. Aloysius Church in Yoder.
Oh, my goodness.
And today is Rosie Colderbank's birthday.
Happy birthday.
Oh, yes. Can you believe it? It's a
Great way to celebrate.
Crazy time.
It's a crummy day for one, though. But she's got bigger things to worry about.
My thoughts and prayers are with all of you guys.
She's at a funeral, a drive-through funeral for her husband, Chuck.
Oh, it's so awesome. I really need that right now because it's been a rough road.
The thing about COVID-19 is that it takes and it keeps taking. It took Chuck from his family. It took away the right of a traditional funeral, and it's taking away hugs from a widow who could really use them.
If the chamber wouldn't have been there, I would have been in trouble hugging. Everybody laughed. They said, oh, Rosie's got a barricade because she can't give us hugs.
Before he died, Chuck was a resident here at Bethlehem Woods Nursing and Rehabilitation. We had heard that COVID-19 was killing patients here, burning through the corridors like a fire, just as it's done at other nursing homes. But managers wouldn't admit that. Neither would Allen County's health department.
We do leave it up to those facilities. Some have, and some have chosen not to, and that's up to them.
And neither would the state's top doctor, Health Commissioner Chris Box.
That would be information you would need to get through the facility.
They all stayed silent as families told us about patients like Chuck who were infected and dying. Bethlehem Woods isn't alone in this, though. The virus is infiltrating nursing homes coast to coast. States like Ohio and Michigan will tell you which nursing homes have COVID-19 cases. But Indiana doesn't, unless a local health department makes the information public. So far, Allen County has refused. Secrecy makes it difficult to understand just how widespread the problem is in our nursing homes. So we dug deeper and through a source uncovered this document. It's a list of all the residents who've died at Bethlehem Woods. Yes, Chuck's name is right here. And so are the names of 9 others. We're blurring them out of respect for their families. We were also given an internal memo that orders staff to keep quiet. It seems managers don't want the staff to tell us what's going on inside. Instead, it tells them to direct us to JoEllen Morris, Executive Director of Bethlehem Woods. So we gave her a call. Hi, yes, my name is Brien. I'm calling from ABC 21 News. I'm hoping to reach JoEllen Morris. She didn't pick up the phone, but someone else did, and they promised us they'd pass along a message. A short while later, I received a text message asking about my email address and where they could send a statement. I'm still waiting on that statement. So we dug deeper again and learned that while American Senior Communities operates this property, it's actually owned by someone else, the Health and Hospital Corporation of Marion County. HHC also runs the Marion County Public Health Department, Eskenazi Health System, Indianapolis EMS, and other nursing homes around the state. Long story short, Bethlehem Woods is owned by HHC. That should mean it's open to public records requests. So that's what we did. We asked HHC for the number of residents who died and any documents that could shed light on the conditions inside Bethlehem Woods. At first, HHC was receptive to our request, and then nothing. 2 weeks later, still nothing. It seems they don't want to talk either. Notice a pattern? So now all we're left with is a list of these names, these death certificates, and some important questions. And that brings us back to Chuck's drive-through funeral. Family says they were happy with the medical care that Chuck had.
They cried when my dad died. Like when my mother called them, they actually called Mom and asked how my dad was doing.
But they said that families with loved ones still inside nursing homes need to be persistent if they want to know what's going on inside. Take it from Chuck's daughter.
Call and call and call. Just keep calling. Call until you can get somebody on the phone.
Family practice doctors are on the front lines of healthcare. In these cold offices, they see their patients from cradle to grave. And right now, they're responsible for too many patients.
In my practice, I handle about 2,400 patients.
Dr. Lisa Hatcher's tremendous patient load is average for Indiana. And when doctors like Hatcher see 50 patients or more a week, well, there's no way to see them all.
I have to divert patients to the urgent care.
So how did we get here? Well, family doctors make about $150,000 a year, but they're saddled with $200,000 of medical school debt. That's why so many decide not to pursue family medicine and instead choose more lucrative specialties where they can make $300,000, even $600,000. That means more patients for existing family doctors and long waits for you.
That's kind of sad.
And it's really sad if you're a Medicare patient because many doctors won't even accept you. The government reimbursement rate is just too low. That's where this place comes in. This is Oak Street Health in downtown Fort Wayne. They cater exclusively to Medicare patients who otherwise would have nowhere else to go.
Here at Oak Street, we just really focus on the Medicare population.
It's good to see you. How's everything going?
Dr. Rupin explains this clinic serves the most vulnerable populations. Their business model accounts for the low reimbursements offered by Medicare and Medicaid. And just this year, they've opened their doors to some Aetna patients too. Here, the patients, mostly older folks with few options, now have access to regular care, which, as we've learned, is hard to find.
We want to make sure that patients have everything from A to Z, not only the healthcare needs, but also people that can help them through the daunting task of navigating the healthcare system.
And that brings us back to Dr. Hatcher, who says until state and federal lawmakers do more to incentivize primary care education, the severe shortage of family doctors will be a constant pain that can't be treated.
Especially if you change communities, where can I find a doc who's still accepting patients?
Tonight, as we prepare to count our Thanksgiving blessings, we're thankful for the military men and women around the world. This is a story about a piece of Fort Wayne from World War II found on a faraway land. We went there to see it ourselves, and what we found took us all by surprise. This is Milne Bay on Papua New Guinea, and it's about as close to a tropical paradise as you can get. Warm Pacific waters, some of the purest in the world, kiss pristine beaches. Thick jungle drapes over the mountains like a green curtain. And the people here, for the most part, are very happy.
We live off the land, and that's the thing that I have come to learn to appreciate.
Oh, it's a beautiful place. Locals call it a slice of paradise. But during World War II, this was the scene of a brutal battle.
The big picture.
The Battle of Milne Bay pitted Allies against the Japanese over control of an airport.
There was no room to maneuver.
American troops slogging through the thick, unforgiving jungle. It was hot, humid, mosquito-ridden, closer to hell than to paradise. Just ask Marcus Guys, born and raised here, a student of the island's history.
It was one of the hardest places to fight. Milne Bay was very, very difficult because of the weather conditions, the mud and the rain, which still happens today, the mud and the rain. It said it was just too much for this. These were just young kids coming up to fight.
The Allies would win this battle, but they turned unspoiled wilderness into a junkyard. Junk you can still see today. Rusted remains hinting at what happened. Recently, Marcus's cousin Willie was walking through his family's land when he spotted something beneath a fallen palm tree.
I was just walking past this place and then I spotted it sticking out, so I decided to come pick it up. I knew what it was, but I didn't know who was the rightful owner.
Willie found this, the dog tag of an American soldier from Fort Wayne, Private Irvin Otting. Naturally, Willie and Marcus wanted to know more.
You know, when you think back to the war, these people were very young.
The soldiers were young, just kids at the time. Most of them, though, are now long gone. But to learn more about the tag and the soldier who once wore it, Willie and Marcus called their cousin James in Australia, a World War II enthusiast with a restored American Jeep and a collection of Japanese weapons. If anybody could trace the dog tag, James could.
I said I would do my best to help out. So I straight away went onto Google and I typed in the surname.
And that's when James learned about Private Otting's time during Milne Bay. But maybe you'd better hear that story from Irvin himself.
The swamp is so thick that you had to hack your way through it. You could have an enemy soldier within 2 feet of you, and sometimes you wouldn't even know it.
At 94 years old, Irvin is still going strong, living in this house he built himself, farming these fields. Back on Papua New Guinea, the news was spreading fast.
Everybody here was, really found it interesting that the guy was still alive when I was telling them.
Irvin's war stories read like a screenplay, but for him it was serious business. He was nearly killed when an errant mortar landed too close to his machine gun nest.
I was hit with a shrapnel from an 81 millimeter mortar. our own. That's what burnt me up. It had to be our own stupidity that ruined my life.
Irvin was knocked out cold by the explosion, which also tore off his helmet and blew out a piece of his skull.
I didn't even hear the mortar go off. All I felt was the blood running down over my body.
He would be unconscious for weeks in a Philippine hospital. This is a sketch of him there. But soon after this, he awoke and noticed something very important was missing.
When I woke up, that's the first thing I said. Where's my dog tags? Don't know. I give up the idea of ever finding them.
But fate wouldn't allow that to happen. Overwhelmed by the chance discovery and Irvin's near death on their family's land 75 years earlier, the cousins from down under knew they had to return the favor.
This person put his life on the line. I thought the least I could do is to take them back to him personally and hand them to him would be the right and proper thing to do.
And that's just what he did, arriving in Fort Wayne carrying a special cargo for express delivery. The Otting family already waiting.
I'm James, and I've travelled a long way to bring you something very special. I'd like to present you with your dog tag, which you left, that you lost all those years ago.
It's been a long time since I've seen that.
Yes, I can imagine.
Bringing the dog tag was easy.
Thank you for
finding the words.
Putting your life for putting your life on the line for us, mate.
Not so much.
You know? Without you guys, we wouldn't be where we are today, mate.
For these to get lost was a real surprise. 'Cause a good soldier never takes them off the back.
Yeah.
And I'll never lose it again.
I'm sure you won't.
Everything is okay for you people over there now?
We have our freedom.
Yeah.
We have our freedom.
Yeah.
People like you putting your life on the line for us. So there's the least I could do.
Well, you can't imagine the feeling when they said somebody found your dog tags. In other words, they found part of you. I couldn't believe it. Well, it finally come true. We thank God for that.
Remarkable how that all came together. Well, James has spent the last week with Irvin and his family getting to know the Fort Wayne area. As for Irvin and his dog tag, well, he knows where he's going to put it, right next to his Purple Heart.